the speaker is a system. Changing one element may not be meaningful completely, but it's the mix of many different parameters.
It is time to talk about guitar speakers again, boys and girls. And as you can see, I'm not alone on this channel today. I have the honor of talking to the guitar speaker expert, Mr. Ignazio from Jensen. You've seen us before.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we actually sit together. We are here at Guitar Summit, and I'm really excited because we're gonna nerd out about all the details, about everything that...
All of them?
All of them.
All of them.
Great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Christian.
And you got a new speaker with you, right?
Got a new speaker. And we will be talking a little bit about it.
Yes.
But not too much.
Yeah, but it's a speaker voiced for high gain tones, right? For distortion?
Yes, it's probably the first neodymium speaker that has been designed from the ground up to overcome all the, may I say, prejudices about neodymium.
That I also have, I gotta say that. There are few neodymium speakers that I actually like. Actually, the other Tornado 65.
The 65.
Being one that I like, but in general, I'm a ceramic guy.
Yeah, and it makes sense because we both are young enough,
very young,
to remember how bad the early generation CDs and CD players sounded.
Yeah.
We thought vinyl is so much better.
Yeah.
But you gave time to the industry, and the latest generation of CDs and CD players actually sounded really good.
Yeah.
And when there is a new technology, you have to give time to the industry to make their own mistakes.
And for people to use them properly. I think
exactly.
The problem with digital in the beginning was also that people were still producing and mixing music for vinyl.
Exactly.
And at some point that changed as well, so it all came together. So people started using and abusing gear differently, musicians, producers, right?
Absolutely. And in a way, the transition from ceramic to neodymium is kind of the same. We made our own mistakes, we learned how to correct them, and the builders are actually learning how to voice the amps for the neodymium.
Talking about magnets, I know we should talk about the speaker as well,
Yeah.
but let's just stay there for a moment. So what is the effect that the magnet has on the tone? So both the size of the magnet, but also the material. Is there a clear...
There are some hard facts,
yeah,
but as we discussed it in our first video, the speaker is a system. Changing one element may not be meaningful completely, but it's the mix of many different parameters. But however, there are some stone hard facts. The magnet strength, which relates directly with the magnet size and weight, is one of the indicators. In absolute terms, if we have two twin speakers and everything else being equal, we have a smaller, weaker magnet on one side and a bigger, stronger magnet on the other side, the speaker with the small magnet will be slightly looser and slightly softer.
Okay.
So it will be more compressed in the attack, and it will be less fast in stopping when you stop playing. So everything will be smoother. Small magnet usually means smaller voice coil.
Yeah.
So the entire moving mass of the speaker will be lighter, therefore a little bit more efficient and a little more open on the top end.
Okay.
Because less moving magnet means more energy being transferred in the top end.
Sure.
A tweeter is lighter than a woofer.
Makes sense.
On the other side, heavier magnet means a lot of torque if it would be an engine. And this means when you kick it, it reacts really strong. And when you stop playing, when you are palm muting, it will be much tighter and faster in stopping the vibration of the membrane. On the other hand, large magnet usually is connected with a larger voice coil, therefore more moving mass. And so in theory is less efficient, but on the other hand, being so powerful, the power compensates
that,
the slightly heavier membrane. So as you see, there are hard facts, but then you have to integrate these hard facts into the system.
And what about the material? Like Alnico versus ceramic versus neodymium?
Okay, so Alnico has a very specific impedance curve, which is different from the impedance curve of an average ceramic. once again, it never happens in reality, but let's assume two equal speakers, and the only thing that changes is the magnet material. Same strength, same flux, same everything. Most likely you will see the impedance curve running towards the top end in a different way, and this means that the speaker will react to the amplifier in a different way.
And it will make the amplifier behave differently, right?
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Usually this translates in a little more open, chimey, resonant sound on the top end.
Okay.
A ceramic magnet will be on the other side. The different impedance curve will make the amp react in a different way, and usually it translates into a more mid-range forward sound and smoother on the top end.
Okay.
Where neodymium sits, somewhere in between, closer to Alnico than to ceramic. So the initial assumption that we and everybody else made was, okay, let's rip off the ceramic magnet and stick in an equal neodymium magnet, it will sound the same. Wrong, because we didn't realize the impact of the impedance curve. And actually we build the neodymium speakers in the same way we build the Alnico speakers. So we voice the membrane in the same way, and the neodymium magnet is so small, it fits inside the voice coil, not outside.
Okay, okay.
Like a ceramic magnet.
Yeah. Okay, okay.
And so it is actually built as if it was an Alnico speaker.
All right. Let's go back to this one. This is the new Tornado
Special Edition.
Special Edition. I can see a huge dust cap.
Yes. The dust cap has, well, many different impacts because it can be of transparent, acoustically transparent, non-treated cloth, that what we use. Then some are paper, some are aluminum, some are felt. The old vintage P10Rs, the speaker of the 4x10 Bassman, they had a felt, pressed felt dust cap.
Wow.
But it's not only important the material, the size is important. The diameter is important.
For the high end, right?
For the high end. Yeah. Because you know, because you are used to place microphones in front of a speaker, that if you aim the microphone right in the middle, it's going to have the highest energy on the top end.
Sound, yeah.
And then as long as you move towards the edges, you will lose high end and increase lower mid-range bass and the pulp of the tone. The weight and the rigidity of the glue that you use to glue in the dust cap sorts of locks the speaker vibration in that specific point of the radial range. So the closer you lock the vibration, the more high energy will transfer. The wider the dust cap is, the curve changes on the top end.
The darker it gets.
The darker it gets. It's interesting because, you know, darker may mean that the roll-off point on the treble can drop very fast, or can, let's say, 24 dB by octave, or maybe 6 dB by octave. Enlarging the dust cap doesn't change the slope. No. It changes the cutoff point.
The frequency,
It moves the cutoff point slightly lower. You will see a screenshot of two examples of the same speaker with two different sizes dust cap, and you will see the difference.
And how do I change the slope? Is that possible, or?
It's possible that you can obtain that by using different treatments or doping or painting. That you can have the same cutoff point but a different slope in the low pass filter.
Okay, so in this case, you use the larger dust cap to make the speaker sound warmer, or like less fizzy or something, or
to control the resonances in the top end, because not only we wanted to bring this cutoff point slightly lower, but we wanted to avoid, if you look at many frequency responses of speakers, you will see that it starts rolling off the treble, and then there are some resonances, some bounces. Those, even if are maybe like 20 dB below the average level, so with a clean tone, you don't really get them.
No.
Maybe they give you a little bit of sparkle, but we know the gain means harmonics. Overdrive means harmonics. So all the build-up
It
of
will
this,
bring everything.
it will
right in your
bring those
face, yeah.
frequencies that apparently are way too high to be transferred coming from an electric guitar, but the harmonics built by the overdrive and the gainy sound, they all build up there.
Yeah.
So if you have these spikes that are 30 dB below your average, you don't care, but with the gain, they may come up to 0 dB,
Exactly.
and then
It gets interesting, right?
your
right.
ears start bleeding. So we wanted to control those spikes and to have exactly the right slope that we wanted in order that you can push as much gain as you want without becoming fizzy.
Nice.
That's the idea.
I'm curious. What about the paper?
Paper is the biggest inconsistency that a loudspeaker manufacturer can face.
There's this German company, or like, what are they called? Like there's this traditional paper.
Müller.
Right.
Yeah, they are a fantastic supplier, but they deal with wood.
Yeah.
Because paper is cellulose pulp, is wood.
Right.
We as a manufacturer, that we do many different speakers. We do pro audio speakers, hi-fi speakers,
Everything. Yeah.
a lot of different stuff. And when we buy from our suppliers like composite membranes, like fiberglass or carbon fiber or polypropylene, the inconsistency is virtually non-existent. But a supplier that sends you a certain amount of membranes, and then the next batch comes from trees that have been cut 6 months later, and the humidity has changed.
Or they have grown slower, or they have whatever. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that we as a manufacturer throw away as many membranes as an amp manufacturer throws away tubes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that far away.
Wow. Okay.
We have a very specific procedure to test the membrane inbound before assembling them.
Okay.
We measure the weight, we measure the flexibility, the compliance, and they have to fit into a certain tolerance. Otherwise, we have to reject them because we don't want that two subsequent batches of our speakers sound different.
But what do you ask for? Like, what are the differences between different papers?
It can be lighter, it can be more flexible, and that changes everything.
Okay, wow.
Changes in sensitivity, changes in treble response, in lower end firmness. It's just a different speaker.
And is that inconsistency one of the reasons why even two, in theory, identical speakers never sound identical? Or is that because the magnet is not going to really change?
No, the magnet is not going to change. The voice coil is not
Exactly,
going to change from one batch to the other because copper, fortunately... Well, somebody may say it changes, but we don't want to get into that.
Right.
As long as they stay within a certain tolerance, it's acceptable. But we don't want two different production batches to sound like two different speakers.
Yeah.
They can be slightly brighter, slightly warmer, but it has to remain in a very, very, very narrow tolerance.
But still, the differences come from the paper or from...
Most of the difference come from there. Yeah.
Wow. And also like maybe the changes over time. I mean, the whole V30 rabbit hole I went into, like all the changes over the years at Celestion. And I think they're not alone with this, it's just the paper maybe changing. And after 15 years, it's even if it's the same paper on paper. That was a good one, right?
That was a good one. Paper and glue are two of the most critical variables.
Glue as well.
Glue, yeah, because glue may behave very differently according to temperature changes, and maybe it's not the ambient temperature, but when a speaker is running, it's actually heating himself.
Yeah.
So, how does the glue react to the temperature changes?
Right.
Does it make the suspension stiffer? Does it crystallize under heat, or does it get loose under heat? There are so many variables.
Wow. No, let's go back to Jensen,
yes,
into this lovely speaker. But what about like the shape here?
The corrugations.
Corrugation, okay.
The corrugations are another tool that you as a speaker manufacturer have to control the vibration of the membrane. Mm-hmm. You know that if you have in your hand a flat piece of paper, it's very flexible.
Yes.
But if you make some bends in it, it stays more rigid.
Yeah.
So the size, dimension, number, and position of these corrugations is a sort of an EQ. It's a dynamic EQ and a frequency response EQ.
Dynamic EQ. And what happens if I make it stiffer?
If I would have this speaker with no corrugations at all, it will break up a lot more, a lot earlier, because it will be softer.
It will be moving a lot.
It will be moving along in an uncontrollable way or less controlled way. A very thick membrane, heavily corrugated, maybe painted or doped, it will become much stiffer, much rigid, less efficient because it will be heavier, but it will have a more dry kind of tone, less overtones, less harmonics, less breakup.
You said dynamic EQ, so that behavior also depends on how loud you play, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The more rigid the membrane is, the less it will change from low volume to high volume.
So the more consistent.
Exactly.
All right.
If you have a very soft membrane, it will break up progressively more as the louder you push it.
Right. So now we've gone through at least 6 parameters. What have we forgotten?
We have the doping.
Doping, right.
The treatment that can be, again, depending on what you're looking for, you can use different level of painting, different characteristics of doping, and placed in different areas of the membrane. Some speakers have a doping in the middle range. Some speakers have only the surrounds. There are treatments that make the membrane more rigid, and that's one of the things we did with this speaker. We wanted the surrounds to be a little more stiff than what we had previously in the other Tornado.
Why?
In order to have a tighter bottom end.
Okay.
And
so you were basically going for tighter low end and rounder, softer top.
Yeah.
Because of people like me.
Mainly because of people like you, but
just for me.
Just for me.
Yeah. But for high gain tones, that's what I mean.
For high gain tones, because the high gain tones, the overdriven tones have changed a lot in the last 20 years. If you think about the thrash metal tone of the 80s, has nothing to do with the metal tones that you listen to.
One octave lower tuned and yeah, right.
But even like the
distortion characteristic.
Characteristic, the EQ curve is completely different. So what was voiced correctly 25 years ago is not exactly accepted today or attractive today.
Yeah.
So what we did was looking for a tighter bottom end and not making it poor in the bass range.
Yeah.
It's just tighter.
Yeah.
We shifted some energy from the 75, 80, 90 hertz. We shifted it a little bit up. So 125, 150, 180, not over 200, because there is where the muddiness.
Right.
We don't want to go there. We want to have just a little bit like an EQ change in that area. The mid range is almost unchanged from the Tornado 100.
The big one, yeah.
The big one. And the top end is more controlled.
And how much of it is trial and error? Just like, let's try this, sucks, try that, kind of, but...
There's a very few other... very few different paths you can go by. It's most is trial and error and experience. I have to say that throughout the years, the more precise I am with the feedback I give to the engineers, the shorter this has become. I think
you've been doing this for a while now, right?
A little bit of a while, but I think this is probably just third or fourth prototype.
Oh wow! Okay,
it was very fast. This was very.
But you started with a Tornado 100 anyway,
yes.
So you had like a working system. Where. Yeah, I remember from our first video where we talked about 8 ohm versus 16 ohm about impedance.
Yes,
that fascinated a lot of people, not knowing that the same speaker with a different impedance actually sounds different. Maybe you can repeat that in case you haven't heard that before. But if you design a speaker like this, do you voice whatever, the 8 ohm version, and then the 16 ohm version just happens to be whatever it is, or the other way around, or how do you?
Well, we voice it for the 8 ohm version because if you look at the market, 85% of the sales are 8 ohm.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the Marshall cabs
16,
were 16 because they are 416 wired series parallel.
Yeah.
But many of the more modern 4x12s manufactured, they are all 8 ohm. So the vast majority of the sales are 8 ohm. So we have to make that one right.
Yeah, okay.
And then we work progressively on different approaches to get the 16 ohm as close as possible to the 8
So you
ohm.
do changes. So you do changes to the 16 ohm. It's not just the same speaker, but
It's the same speaker. What changes are the voice coil winding techniques.
Okay.
Maybe smaller wire, maybe wider wireless turns. It needs to have the same overall characteristics, but the way you get there, you have different paths to get there.
Okay. Because I mean, the high end changes. That's what I noticed. The efficiency changes,
yeah.
right? And
because the overall the winding is a lighter weight. So again, there's less moving mass. So slightly more efficient, slightly clearer. But we are talking about it can be fractions of a dB.
right.
In some cases, can be more noticeable. In other cases, is virtually unnoticeable.
Okay. But the original Jensen speaker is the 8 ohm model, right? That's the one.
Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Good to know. When is that one coming out?
This one is available.
It's available.
It's available, and you have one on the way.
I have one on the way, so I'll check it out. I got to do more speaker videos again. People keep on telling me I should do that, right? Do you agree?
I do agree. You know, since we started our digital journey,
Yeah.
Releasing the Jensen IR collections,
Right.
and you know we have 2 collections right now out.
Together with Overloud, was it? Or
Together, one is together with Overloud, and one is with 2 Notes.
Right.
So we kind of cover, you know, different
Worlds of like,
different worlds,
software and hardware
Exactly.
users, right? Yeah.
But what we have seen is that very often we have people who say, you know, I tried your IR, never played the Jensen before, but I tried the IR of this Jensen, and I really like the speaker. I really want to buy a physical one, and this was kind of unexpected.
I told you, I think, back then before you did that.
Yes, but I didn't believe you.
Right, you should.
Because we thought we were just reaching out to a different community. But we understand that there is not just a different community. There are generations of players who never had the chance of playing a vintage Jensen through maybe a vintage Fender or a vintage Ampeg or something like that. And there's a lot of interest in knowing more about the roots of today's tone.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do.
I just talked to someone from BEYERDYNAMIC yesterday because I just released an IR pack with a lot of BEYERDYNAMIC and a lot of vintage BEYERDYNAMIC microphones. And at some point they also realized, wow, we're not, of course people are buying IRs, but we're actually just showcasing our microphones, and there will be a pushback from people discovering your speakers or these microphones and then actually, you know, going for the real thing again. And then you have other people who will never use a real speaker because they don't need one, and they just want to play with their headphones at home. And you know, you've got both sides.
Exactly.
And yeah.
And by the way, let me shout out the BEYERDYNAMIC M160 is probably my overall favorite guitar speaker.
You know,
microphone.
it's the 260 from the 60s. I have one now. I have to send it.
I never tested that.
It's so smooth, and I have to send it back. Maybe I should just. It's bring back the M2. The 260. But the 160 is like a beautiful. What makes it great is a ribbon mic, but it's like in between the ribbon sound and the dynamic microphone.
It's a ribbon side who thinks he's a dynamic.
Exactly. Beautiful mic. BEYERDYNAMIC. I think it's cool that you haven't answered all my questions, because then we can return next year at Guitar Summit and do even more videos together. What do you think? But I'll be back with a video about the Tornado Special Edition.
Special edition. Very special edition. It's just 2 kilos, guys.
Right.
100 watts.
100
2 kilos.
Watts. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Christian, is always amazing talking to you.
That's all for today. If you have more questions for Ignazio, he's usually coming back to the video and you will answer the comments and stuff, and I will as well. And I see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to ring the bell. Check out Jensen. I see you in hell or at Guitar Summit, motherfuckers. Bye bye.